Alright, well today I'm going over to Dean's house. I'm going to take him to Blue Angels, and we'll see what videos we can film while we're there, but I got to catch these two, and we'll be on the way. So, they still look good, but Dean's raising the eggs anyway, and we're just adding a step into moving the eggs because he's just set up for it, and this room is not yet, so there we go. Well, 2 days in a row that I use this little pump. I think this thing will have to stay in here. I didn't think I would use it that much. I thought, yeah, maybe I'll use it every once in a while, but 2 days in a row. It turns out I touch fish more than I think I do, but we'll keep them nice and aerated. They've got about a 45-minute trip to Dean's, and then we'll be there and keep the stress down so they breed right away for them.
Are you videoing this?
Of course. It's all B-roll.
Can I use my hands or should I have to use a net?
I believe that your hands are actually better for him. The net hurts their scales.
Come on, buddy.
They're feisty. They like to bite me a lot.
You have too much water in there. There we go.
Here's Dean practicing for Peru.
Absolutely. Do you know what these things are? Philippine Blue Angels.
Yep.
There we go.
PB Blues.
Pretty, huh?
Look better under normal light, because they're probably just stressed so the blues
A
faded.
little bit.
Yeah. Well, they already look better in the...
So built a divider, egg crate, because there's another pair over here.
Apparently Dean trusts me because he put the fish in. You've only been watching him for how many months at my house?
Right. I've said this before, between your water and my water, it's almost exactly the same. We both use a little bit of coral for buffer.
Yep.
So I generally haven't had any problems. I get yelled at online for, oh, you're not quarantining Aquarium Co-Op's fish? Sorry, no, I'm not. She's a little smaller, harder to catch.
Yeah.
Ah, she bit me.
They bite me anytime I try and do
She's
anything
too.
in the tank.
Okay. Go have your daddy.
And he's got the babies. from
Babies
the
are
first
over
batch.
here.
Yeah.
These are the eggs that we actually took off that pipe. What, about 3 months ago?
Yeah, I don't
2
know.
months ago? I can't remember exactly. Some of these are already in the store.
Yep. Looking good though.
They do look good.
Did you have to cull the ones that weren't blue? Because I feel like these are all looking blue now.
No, the number one thing I have to cull for in just about any angel is the ventral fins.
Yep, so the ones that hang down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get twisted ones. You get, like, this is a good example. This fish right here, the big one, is actually, in my opinion, a cull.
Right, because it's only got one.
It's got 1.5 of one.
Yeah.
And, that's fairly common in some of the angelfish that, as they get more and more inbred. So I'm always looking at that. That's the first thing I always look for.
Yeah.
There are a couple other deformities in here that I thought were kind of cool. I call them deformities. Other people will say, oh, that's cool. And I have to find one. He has like a shark fin. Maybe he went to the store.
You're getting a little collection of the black rams going. Not a ton, but...
Well, this is black. This is gold from the same spawn.
Yeah. So you can see the ratio.
Right. And actually, even in the gold, you'll see there's two different colors of gold.
Like a light and a darker
There's
one.
a light one that's more pastel. I actually posted a picture of the two on my Instagram. Well, actually, down here.
Oh, here we go. We can plug your Instagram. What's your Instagram, Dean?
Do I know that?
It's probably Dean's Fish
It's
Room.
Dean's Fish Room. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
He posts pictures there actually a few times a week at least.
Yeah, a couple times a week.
Yeah.
Not everything is fish. But down here you see the two types of gold I'm talking about. So the one here is very, very light and pastel.
Yep.
And this guy back here
Nice
has
and
more
dark.
of the red, dark head.
I like that kind better.
The darker one?
Yeah.
Yeah. More people have responded to this one.
Because it's different.
And if you look close, the blue spangling is really intense. So
I'm excited that gold rams are coming back into my store eventually.
yeah, but what will we call them? Black gold rams? I don't know.
Fool's gold.
When they come into the store,
I like
We're
fool's gold.
not going to be able to tell anybody.
That's right. So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna go grab
Some
dinner.
food.
We talked for
Then we'll come back.
a few hours and didn't film it. I know, shame on us.
Yeah.
But we'll come back and we'll film some more stuff because there's goodies everywhere. Look at that, little babies.
Baby down here.
Oh wow. Zebra babies.
Those are the 4. There you go.
Nice.
And I have to be honest, at this size, they don't look much different than the L333 babies.
Yeah.
Except for one thing you know is they're white with black stripes. The 333s are black with white stripes.
Right.
So
All right. Well, we'll save.
she's feisty.
Yeah, he's hiding.
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready to spawn, and she's not quite ready.
All right.
Okay.
It's time for tacos.
All right. Tacos. Plant life to grow. Either that, or you have to do rice fish with just mops.
Yeah, they make, so when I was in Japan, they make like a kit you buy that's just floating mops and it's got rice fish all over it.
Yeah.
And they even had some that was like a little pond as well. And I mean, it wasn't exactly this, but you pretty much were convinced. You're like, I'm buying a 5-gallon bucket with a little bit of media to go in it.
But I've already got like a light down there.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
With mops, I wouldn't need to worry about the plants,
Right.
right? I just filter it, put the rice fish in there.
Yeah, I think I'll bring you some of those over. The orange ones I think are more in demand. Let us know in the comments, platinum or orange. Like
Orange.
I have both, but platinums look cool.
Just say orange.
The orange, the problem is I'm afraid that the average person that doesn't know what they are will just be like, oh, they're baby goldfish. Which is still kind of cool because they can overwinter here year round. So,
But you know, the cool thing, and I know it's been in a past video, is those living room planter
Yes.
pots with the
Yeah.
rice fish, where you, because they are seen from above,
yeah.
except for our country.
I mean, I kind of, at a point where co-op 5 years from now, let's say we continue to grow every year, I would love to bring over a cargo container full of those for just like local customers, and we would like lose money on them, I'm sure. But the fact that people get to enjoy it in their
It's
living room like it's
cool.
meant to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I know that you'd
I
have
don't
one,
like-
I'd have one.
that big.
Well, I love them because they're up on a. Some of them will be up on a
a
pedestal
pedestal?
too,
Yeah.
and it's like they got the light, and you got like a dragon on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So I devised a little thing. We're gonna change it up. Normally we go through one by one and we look at all the fish and we go, Dean, you're so good at breeding fish. Yes. If you haven't seen those videos, a bunch of videos are on the channel. Dean breeds an insane amount of fish in a 10 by 10 room.
Right.
So I want to ask questions as if you're a hobbyist that hasn't bred a ton of fish, don't own a fish store, and things like that. So, how many hours a day do you spend in here to produce all these fish? Actually, not like, oh man, I spend all day, all night, like, you know, it's like when I ask people, okay, yes, you went to work for 8 hours, but how many hours did you do work at work?
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
Like, how many actual hours of, like, I was scrubbing, feeding, not just I was looking at them, like, oh, I broke a sweat, like I
Yeah.
actually worked.
Well, so like when I look at them, I get to sit here,
Yeah.
you know, and I can just go.
Yeah, so that time doesn't count.
So that doesn't count?
Yeah.
So
that's the enjoyment time.
Okay, so I get about a minute a day.
Yeah, okay.
So I've actually timed this a couple times.
Okay.
To successfully feed all of the fish, including the 5 tanks or whatever out there.
Yep.
It's a half an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So that includes stopping the brine shrimp, separating it, resetting it up, getting the frozen or flakes or granule food. Okay. For every tank. It's about a half an hour.
And that's as efficient as you can make it so far.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, fish like these guys, the little ones and these guys,
yep.
Sometimes those are 3 times a day feedings. And those little feedings would probably only take an extra 5 minutes. Okay. So in the morning when I get up, it's a half hour to do the whole fish room. In the night I usually do 2 major feedings, a morning and either early evening one. Okay. So that's twice a day for every tank, and usually the fry tanks get a 3rd feeding. Now there are some fish in here, of course, that might only get once a day, but average a half hour of feeding, and then maybe another 5 minutes for the smaller fish. And usually that 5 minute feeding is almost always dry. Of some sort, dry food. The other feedings, it could be a mix of dry, frozen, live baby brine.
And you feed every single day?
Yes, except for when I'm gone. We were talking earlier about like, when I head out for the weekend, if I'm gone for the weekend, let's say I'm leaving Friday night. Okay, so I'll feed the fish Friday afternoon. There's no windows in here, which may be to my detriment, maybe not, but
probably to your detriment, but probably to the fish's benefit.
So so on Friday, I'll feed them, pack my stuff, and then I'll literally turn off the lights. I come back Sunday night, turn the lights back on, feed them. It's like they got an extra long night. And I've had really good success even with some of the smaller fry doing that. Now, if they're brand new hatched fry, I'm not going to have very good success with that. But on fry like this, like these, they will survive.
All right.
Go ahead.
What is maintenance like? Like, do you go, I do it 1 day a week? Like a lot of people are like, Sunday, time to do my water changes and all that. Like, how does that go down? Or is it a little bit each day? Like, how do you tackle it?
There's big jobs and little jobs.
Okay.
So water changes are basically...
Is that a big job or a little job?
It's a little job because I basically turn levers.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to change this rack, for example. Yep. I come over, I turn these 2 on, turn this guy on, which is letting the water flow through the filter. Yep. And turn on rack 1. It rattles a little bit, and within just a couple minutes, we can't really see it very well, but water is flowing to every tank right now. Okay. Let that run for an hour.
And so, obviously, I'm guessing you're not standing here watching it change water.
No.
You would just be doing other stuff?
I usually set a timer on my phone.
Okay.
Because I find if I don't, I'm so old that I forget. Now, this water is going through a sediment filter and a carbon block filter, which pretty much takes all of the chlorine that we have in our water out. Yeah. I don't have any of that chloramine stuff yet. So that's a water change for the whole rack. Yep. So literally I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I want in 4 hours, I can change the whole fish room.
And so let's say, you turn this rack on, do you typically spend that hour in the fish room, or are you over on YouTube just counting how many people like to listen to what you have to say?
We're eating dinner, I don't have to be here. Okay. It pretty much does it all by itself. Now there's other jobs and if you look up in this tank, there's nothing in there. Right. This tank has been cleaned and reset. It's ready for fish.
Okay.
And this tank is filthy and disgusting and is ready to be reset.
And so you'll reset that before spawning a new fish in there.
Right.
Which is like the opposite. I go, ooh, it's just getting ready for me to spawn fish in there.
A lot of us think that way. Now, one thing I'm thinking about trying with this one that I haven't tried in a while is putting all the baby plecos in there. I think they would go nuts.
I think they would clean that pretty quick.
It would be clean in a day probably, or two maybe.
Or at least all the algae be eaten and you have a lot of poop or whatever. But yeah.
So a good example of resetting is, let's take the Blue Angel tank.
Yeah.
Okay. So these went in there when they were probably, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks on baby brine shrimp. So they were teeny, basically, right? I grow them out. Clearly, the bigger ones go to the shop first.
Yep.
The little ones still come along. Once I've sold all of the fish out of that tank.
Yep.
It's usually probably, let's just say a 3-month process.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe 4 months, right? Then this tank is ready to be kind of reset like what I've done up there.
Yeah.
So at that point, all the fish are gone. I take the lid off, wash it, just with warm water. The filter comes out, and I use a brush to just brush down the sides and the bottom. The filter I rinse in the sink. I don't rinse it in a bucket of fish water. I just rinse it in the sink, put it back in, fill it with fresh tank water or tap water, and then it's ready for the next batch of fry to come in.
How big a tanks will you do that with? Like, I'm guessing you're not doing that with 40-gallon breeders and stuff, right?
Well, these are 10s. Now, there are times when I have so many of these babies that I got to move them to a 20.
Yeah.
Or I have to split them.
And will you tear down a 20 and take it to the sink and clean it and stuff too?
No, the tank stays here.
Oh, okay. I thought you were... I see.
Yeah. No, I literally bring the brush in here, scrub it, I drain all the water.
Okay.
Rinse it down with my hose.
Oh,
drain
all right.
it, refill it, and it's ready to
Because
go.
I was thinking the warm water on the glass top. In my mind, you're taking everything.
No,
You're just the glass top
I'll take
goes.
to the sink.
Okay.
But that process would take me probably a half hour per tank, and I do that as needed.
Sure.
So, so when this tank empties out or this one empties out, then they will get reset. And a lot of people, like you were just saying, I would just leave it like that.
Yeah.
Right? But what if there happens to be some blue-green algae or something in there?
Mm-hmm.
I want that out of there. I don't necessarily keep them in a sterile environment. I let that mold build back up with the fish I'm putting in there.
Yep.
So it's not completely, as people would say, sterile, but I don't let it get really super messy either.
All right.
Some tanks get messier. The pleco tank, if you look at the filter.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
It's
like
piled because
they
just tend to chew.
And they're on babies right now.
They're on eggs in there.
Yeah, eggs and babies.
And I don't know, are you able to see
a little
it here?
bit? If you got a flashlight, it might be able to. Yeah.
No, the babies are just ones I didn't get out
from the last batch.
From the last batch, yeah.
The male is the one that fans the eggs.
Right. And in this case, for the last 2 spawns, the female has decided to spawn upside down.
So in this tank, do you service that sponge in between spawns, or do you just let it go until it's fat? Or
I let it go. Actually, my intent here wasn't to be a pleco spawning tank.
Yeah.
I was going to move some of the angels in there or the gold rams.
Okay.
But I just haven't got to that yet. And the plecos will spawn irregardless.
Right.
So I was going to use it as a grow out tank. And then, so I just haven't got that far. There's always a job in the fishery. Plus, at this particular time of the year right now, as we're getting ready to go to Peru, I need to have, 8 or 10 tanks empty before we leave.
Yeah, just in case.
So, because we don't know what we're going to find, don't know what we're going to bring back. So I'm kind of in that mode also of, okay, what can I either...
So scraping algae, another job I would guess. Like,
are you looking at the algae mess up there?
that's right.
You know I hate algae, right?
I do know that.
No, actually, I don't mind algae. I'm learning a lot about algae in here, though, because if you look at the algae up here, now those are catfish breeding tanks.
Yep.
Okay. They don't mind algae. This tank is a catfish breeding tank,
Yep.
and it's coated with algae. They tend to thrive on that.
So have you noticed they're actually doing better if you let the algae go?
A little bit better spawning, and also sometimes I'll just clean the front glass.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they will just lay the eggs on the front glass.
I see.
So it makes it easy to do.
You can kind of guide them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, but what I've noticed is now, normally, I'll do this really quick. Normally the fish room looks like this. So,
Wait, you literally normally would just keep it like this? Like
Yes.
if I wasn't here?
yeah, so the light this
Yeah.
one is on automatic timer. It goes on at 5, off at 11. 5 in the morning till 11.
Okay.
Okay. The tank lights that I just turned off come on at 5 at night till 11. That's typically when I have time to sit down and view.
What about the morning feeding you do?
Just like this.
Okay.
It's not dark. I mean,
Yeah, I mean everything's got
you can see the food.
enough light. Like if
Yeah.
I can see it, they can see us, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
One of the things that I do notice is when I feed baby brine to the fry or to the young, it tends to collect towards the front.
Because they do go
So
towards
they're
the light.
Picking it right off the light, yeah.
That's smart. Okay,
So-
that's a super breeder tip right there, I feel like.
So
Wow.
then the lights come on. Now, even when the lights are on, that's dimmer than what a normal aquarium light would be.
Right.
So normally it would be something like this. Oops, I went the wrong way. No, I'm sorry. Let's do this one over here. You can see it better. Look at these angels.
I know, they're coloring
Are
up.
those gorgeous? They're going to spawn in a couple days.
Better get them a slate. Oh, they got a slate.
They got a slate. So this light, you'll be able to see it a little bit more because that's full light.
Yeah.
And then I usually keep them at about a little under half.
Okay.
And that helps with the algae. But what I've noticed in this top row, they're getting algae from this bulb being on
Yeah.
from 5. Because the algae grows in a pattern in relationship to that bulb.
Have you ever changed like the color of that bulb or anything? Or because it seems like it's a pretty important thing if every tank, like by changing the bulb, you're changing every ecosystem kind
If
of.
someone told me the right color to put in there, I would definitely try.
Maybe the internet knows. Someone will say
Maybe.
like, don't you know they can't see maroon,
Yeah.
you know, or maroon won't grow algae.
But you have to have enough light for them to see the food.
Yeah.
This is a daylight bulb.
Yeah.
And right now I can't see because I've looked at
Yeah,
it
I've
too
got
many
sunspots
times.
now. Yeah.
So,
Pretty interesting though. All right, so
so one thing that I have just added, I don't know if you've even noticed it.
probably not.
I still have the 4 baby zebra plecos. Let's see if I can get them to get in the light. There you go.
Yeah.
Right? Now, for lack of better words, we'd almost given up on them.
Yes.
Right?
I'd given up. I told you to breed something I can
Something
sell,
like this.
you know, instead of listening to you cry about it.
And happened over the AGA weekend. I came home. This tank used to look like this tank.
Okay.
It was completely overgrown with algae, and I had even let the water quality was still there because I was still doing water changes and all.
Yeah.
Algae does not mean bad water. right? So the water quality was there, but it was totally overgrown. And I come home that weekend, put something here, and I glanced over and I see one little zebra pleco through the algae. I'm thinking, I just told people all weekend that they're never going to breed. And here I've got babies that are probably a month old already. And so with some renewed interest, I added the small
A gyre pump?
gyro pump, or whatever you call it, gyro pump. So it creates a really big current in there.
Okay.
They seem to like it a lot more. They're a little bit more active. And the other thing that does is, clearly, you know, you've got caves and stuff all over there.
Yep.
And you've got fish pooping.
Yep.
This helps it all to settle kind of over here. Makes it easier for me to siphon out, clean up.
Nice. Does it force all the plecos to have to go over there to eat?
No, the food goes all over the tank.
Okay.
Literally. And I don't turn it off. I know there's other people that turn their air and filters off when they feed.
Yeah.
I don't do that. It's like, you know,
All right.
when we were up in that river collecting those plecos,
Right.
the river didn't stop so they could eat.
No, it didn't.
They figured it out, you know, so.
So, I don't know if that's all the jobs, but I'm trying to think of how many tanks are in here, and then if you divide how many hours a week by how many tanks to get down to, you know, oh, I spend this much per tank per week.
So let's just say, you know, I mean, there's always a filter to clean.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that filter hasn't been cleaned in 6 months.
Ah, so you're finding the dirty truth.
You know, but it's still functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Still breaking down. There's lots of mold down there. That's the Claro pleco tank, and they tend to thrive in that situation.
Nice. I didn't realize you still had
I
Claro.
do. I have a couple pairs. Haven't kept any fry lately. I mean, there's a few in here. So yeah, so it's been 6 months since I cleaned that filter. When I do, I will, you know, basically scrub the whole tank down, clean it, put it all back together.
Will you move the fish, or will you put the fish back in that one?
Probably put them right back in there. Yeah. Sometimes I don't even take them out to do all that.
Nice.
As long as I'm not siphoning it to dry.
Right.
And I'm not running hot water in there. I'm running
Yeah,
same
to temperature, yeah.
So I usually set this up for like 80 degrees and it's fine.
All right.
So, you know, if you look at it on a daily basis, if you break that up, you know, I've got, say, I mean, let's be on the conservative side, say we have an hour and a half feeding every day.
Yep.
For the whole day. And then let's say we do maybe an hour of work every day. That sounds like a lot.
I was going to say, I'm like, this is a lot of more work than I'm willing to do.
Time, you know?
That's 2.5 hours a day so far.
And that could be what it is. And then, you know, maybe, you know, on the weekend you might clean and move. There's always fish to move around.
Yep.
Breeding to set up, eggs to pull.
So maybe that's like a 4 or 6 hour day once a weekend.
Right. And I just find if you be efficient at it, it goes quicker.
So it seems like, you know, rough math, you're 22, 24 hours a week.
Right.
Divide that by 7. You're looking at about 3 hours a day. How many aquariums do you have total between here and over there? So there's like 5 or 6 out there, and then whatever's in
I
here.
think there's 40 some in here.
All right.
I think I have around 50 total now.
All right, so you're probably down around half an hour per tank per week.
Yep.
That's pretty efficient.
It's not too bad, you know.
That's kind of a good number to know if you're like, oh, I'm going to add 5 more tanks. Realize, oh, I'm adding another 2.5 hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, a lot of people, you know, don't look at this if you have 1 or 2 tanks.
Right.
Because 1 or 2 tanks is a lot less time. I mean, you can feed them in 2 minutes.
Yep.
You know, so it's a little bit different. And I still am having to deal with the ladder.
Yep.
If I had all of the space in the world for a fish room, never be more than two levels.
Yeah.
And they would be at the level where you could easily reach to feed, to open them up, and to film.
All right, I just thought of a new question. So I was thinking, I wonder how old that ladder is. My next question I actually thought of, what's the oldest thing in this fish room besides you that has like gone with you from fish room to fish room, or, I don't know if you start all anew on a new fish room, but there's got to be something here where you're like, you know what, this thing I've had forever or something.
Well, I got a couple things. One of them is not in here.
Well, if it's not in the fish room, then that doesn't count.
But it's used in the fish room.
Okay.
It's used every day.
Every day, okay. So he claims he has a small fish room, but his laundry is right next door, and there's a sink there. So I count that as part of the fish room, but... All right, I know what that is.
So it's a brine shrimp sieve.
Yep.
I've had this for probably over 40 years.
Really?
Yeah. When I bought it.
I mean, I can't fathom that because I'm not even 40. I don't know if I have an item in my life I've carried everywhere in my life.
So, and I have no idea how old. This was a gift years and years ago. I've never drank anything out of it.
Okay.
Oh, look what's in the bottom. That looks gross, doesn't it?
That is a lot of salt.
So I just use it for my eyedroppers in the fish room.
I see.
This thing is a brine shrimp sieve.
So, for those of you who don't know, it's going to sort out the brine shrimp from the eggs, right? Or
No.
you're using it to rinse it, right?
You use it to rinse the brine shrimp.
Yeah.
So the brine shrimp won't go through, the water will. Now, when I bought this,
Do you remember how much it was?
I think it was a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Now it's around $6 or $8. You can still buy the same one, but they're in black.
Okay.
I bought two. Somewhere in my junk, I still have the other one brand new in the box.
Wow.
So this one has been the only one used.
You need to find the other one and raffle it off or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this relic.
No, I think I want to keep it.
Maybe it's the only reason you've ever been successful. Like if you lose
This
that,
one,
then you're
I won't be
well.
successful.
If you just don't have the green one, like maybe
Right.
that's the
Right.
secret.
So yeah, so this is the other thing that's been around.
And you legit think you've had it for 40 years?
I think over 40 years. I was trying.
Because that's to me, you don't get a brine shrimp sieve unless you're breeding fish. So that would really date you've been breeding fish for
Right.
over 40 years.
Right. I think I've had this over 40 years now because I was totaling this.
Have you
up
had
the
that
other day.
longer than your wife?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Because we used to use brine shrimp nets, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of those I've gone through compared to this. So, yeah.
So it's got to be the best buy you've ever made because the money to usage ratio, because you haven't hatched brine every day in the last 40 years, but anytime you had a fish room every single day,
Right.
like you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of uses out of that.
Right. Literally.
Wow.
every day. Now, the only other thing that would be really, really old is the Easter Island guy.
Really?
Yeah. And this goes way back.
Because I just felt like that was like, oh, you got that at Petco
No.
sometime on clearance or something.
That one goes all the way back to the very early days in Seattle with the fish store.
Yeah. And they've been around for a very, very long time. Yeah.
And they had, I'm not sure if they had these made or they imported them, but I've never seen that size, that type ever again.
Huh.
So he's been, or she, is it a he or a she?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's it.
Yeah.
It's probably been in one of my tanks for over 30 years.
And you just went in and bought it? Or was it like, oh, it's on clearance, I should pick these up because they're pleco caves? Or did you just I need to own this?
I just bought it, yeah.
All right.
The fish store, some people will remember, they used to sell masks up high.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they would import these and they had masks that kind of lined up high on the wall. All of those were for sale.
Huh.
And so I didn't really want a mask, so I just bought the Easter Island thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope. I bet you there's nothing in my fish room more than like 2 or 3 years. I guess I'm just not. Maybe I haven't found the right things.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know, because most of this stuff is newer. Like, because when you build this fish room, most of it's new.
Right.
Trying to think of.
I would say there's a few of the Eheim filters
Okay.
that are over 25 years old.
Wow.
They run forever. You know, they might have had new impellers.
Yeah.
But
Maybe seals.
yeah, no new seals.
Wow.
Never had to put a new seal in any of them yet.
That's a testament to quality.
One thing I do to the Eheims is, you know, the part on the bottom, the little C-shaped piece
Yeah.
that goes in the bottom, that's threaded in.
Okay.
So before I use the filter, I'll unthread it and I'll put thread tape on it, because we tend to wiggle that as we clean and stuff.
Yep.
And the thread tape, I found, that just doesn't let it leak then.
So let's do the counter. What's the newest thing in the fish room then? So, like, you know, obviously you're like,
Other than fish?
Yeah, like a piece of a gadget or equipment, whatever, like something where you're like, oh yeah, this is like the newest thing I've got. Like that Geyer pump is a contender probably. That you haven't had that long.
No, that's only a week or so.
Oh, then that's got to be the newest thing.
Yeah.
The newest, latest, and greatest.
The Google
The Google Pod.
Pod.
One day we'll do a live stream in its fish room. You guys can ask questions. We don't know what day yet.
This thing, which I would have to go get the thing to show you what that's for.
You're just gonna leave people hanging?
You want me to really go get it?
Well, no. Or you just got to say wait till the next video or something.
Wait till the next video.
All right.
Or a live stream. Maybe wait till a live stream.
Okay.
There's always new food.
Yeah.
So here's your commercial, guys.
You really do love that food, don't you?
So we're all familiar with ONIPs, right?
I mean, most people should be.
If we're not familiar with now, go back and watch about the last 25 videos.
Yeah.
So the ONIPs, little stick-on tabs. These really smell good.
Yeah, you should eat one.
No, I'm fine. So we just stick them on, and then, you know, the fish will figure it out that it's food. Oh,
Yeah, that didn't take long.
that didn't take long, did it?
Maybe they're afraid of the camera. We'll see. They actually are attacking that pretty good. How often do you feed them that?
When I think about it, or when I'm lazy.
Okay.
I mean, there's another thing that I feed them out of one of these guys.
We got to make a video on that because you make these, right?
I did make these. And I grabbed the wrong one.
What's the stipulation? So, well, we'll let people see it because I know what it is. Do we have to get a certain amount of likes or a certain amount of people asking, and then we'll eventually make the video on how to make them?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right. So someone make a comment that we want this feeding contraption, and then if it gets like 100 likes on that comment.
There you go.
So one of the comments that says make this feeding contraption has to get 100 likes, and then we'll buy all the pieces and put the video together.
So now do you want me to show you what it does?
Well, yeah, because no one's going to do it now. Like, you built it up.
So I'm not a big fan of live blackworms.
Okay.
And, you know, it goes all the way back to
when you used to eat them as a kid.
Yeah, you know, just how they used to be raised, and, you know, they used to bring in leeches and diseases. So I'm more of one, just, you know, I don't need that in my life. I don't need that in my fish room. But freeze-dried blackworms, in this case these are freeze-dried Australian blackworms, put a cube in. Drop this in. I usually shake it a couple times to make sure I get all the air out.
They know what that is, apparently.
Yeah, they know what they all are. It's all food. And
How often do you use this contraption?
A couple times a week.
Okay.
And same for the O-nips, it's a couple times. I like to do a variety. I mean, odds are both of those will be gone in a half hour or less. But again, this is something where I can put a couple cubes in there, and if I'm really growing them, with the effort of growing them, then they'll have food for about an hour or so.
Nice.
And you can see it's not coming out super fast.
Yeah, they got to work for it.
They have to work for it, right? So getting back to what I first picked up.
Back to Dean's original commercial.
Back to the commercial. Sarah, catfish tabs, XXL.
Hashtag not sponsored. You just like this.
There you go.
I remember you showed up at my fish room. We were like, have you seen this? I'm like, of course I sell it. But I can't believe you actually like it. I thought it was just a gimmick for you.
These are giant algae tabs. Now, where the big plecos and the angelfish are,
yep.
I can throw a whole tab in. If I threw a whole tab anywhere else in the fish room, it'd be too much food.
I see.
So I break them up. But they're really good. They can stick on the same way as this if you want.
Yeah.
Or you just drop them in. I just break them up for the plecos. Even these little zebra plecos, we'll take it. It'll sink in a minute or so. These guys love it.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes, once you break it, sometimes you have to knock the air off of it and it'll sink.
There you go. You got
See,
that one.
That one sank. This one still has an air bubble on it. It's going to come back up a couple more times. Where else do I have plecos? Over here. And there. And believe it or not, there's black autos in the bottom of the black.
And so is this a food you'll buy again? Because this is an expensive food. This is not a cheap food.
It is? I didn't know that.
Oh, did you steal it from my employee and I need this? I mean, technically, if you didn't pay for it, then it is sponsored.
I like it. It doesn't tend to make too much of a mess. A lot of pleco tabs. Do I have any other pleco tabs here?
It's got a pleco on it.
Like you see in there, a lot of them will break down and leave a lot of ash.
Yep.
At least that's what I call it. Not meaning that's bad, because I think that has to go through fish.
Yeah.
Plecos are wood chewers, vegetable chewers. So these will tend to leave, the piles of ash like this.
Mm-hmm.
Where the Sarah stuff, I think, is all pure food almost.
Nice.
So.
Because that's a food that I only really used in my initial testing. I haven't, like Sarah Onip tabs I use a ton. There's a lot of foods I use a lot of, but I don't run that many plecos or anything, and I'm mostly feeding community fish. So it runs through its paces with pleco tanks. Like, okay, yeah, it's good.
Right.
But
right.
No, that's good to see, because you're a guy that will spend. We were talking earlier, and there was a thing of food imported from Germany. It was over $50.
Right.
And your guy will spend any amount of money on food, so.
Well, you kind of narrow it down to your 2 or 3 favorite foods that you use all the time.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff I buy, you just throw in, and you think, oh, maybe this is going to be my favorite. But it usually comes back to those 2 or 3 favorites.
Yeah, it's like eating human food.
Yeah, like pizza is always a favorite, right?
For you.
Or tacos.
I do like Mexican food and tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, this video ran long, so the second segment we're going to save for another video.
There you go.
If you were watching until this point, give it a thumbs up, a like. Like that's.
Thumbs up like this?
Yes.
Okay.
That means you liked it. That helps us get more viewers, that kind of thing. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. You'll see more of Dean. We're traveling to Peru. We're doing all kinds of cool things. We're here to try and educate you. So hit that subscribe button. Our videos will show up in your feed, and we'll show you more cool stuff from around the world. So, and it's free. That's the best thing, is
free.
you got to pay nothing for all
Right.
that. All you got to do is hit the like and the subscribe button, and you will get more of this whether you want it or not from YouTube. So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next one.